Welcome to another Unwinding with Fiber and Fabric. I'm a little out of breath and a little on the warm side right now because I just had to dash outside to grab something before I started this video. I had tried to record this a little bit ago and had some technical difficulties, so I'm back again in front of the camera and hopefully this take will work. I'm checking now, and yes, it is recording. So, as any of you that are spinners might know, Tour de Fleece started this past weekend, and that means that social media is just lit up with people talking about what they're spinning, and in some cases going to wonderful places to spin. In my case, I was going to do some spinning outside today, and I did get out first thing this morning, but yesterday we had some well-needed rain, and the humidity level today is pretty high. It's hot, it's humid, it's made my hair frizz, something that most of my life I never had an issue with, having spent most of my life in the drier climates out west. I am still getting accustomed to having my hair get really frizzy. In fact, the way my hair looked today before I brushed it, and if anyone were to see me up close, it looks a little bit like it's spinnable. It's very crimped and it's very curly. So I'm a little out of breath, but I wanted to come to you today and put together this quick little video. Somebody had asked me a question when I was spinning. I showed a picture of something I was spinning, and they asked me a question if I was spinning from the cloud. And yes, technically I was spinning from the cloud. I was spinning CVM, and I had just simply opened the locks up, fluffed it up. Some of the locks had already been lost their lock definition when I did the scouring, and I was just simply making it so that opening up the ends, opening up the locks, and spinning directly from that. So when you spin from a cloud, you're going to get a more woolen type yarn, a more woolen type prep, I should say, for the yarn. Because most of the time the cloud isn't going to have all the fibers lined up in one direction as you would get if you were using combs to comb the fibers in one direction. But I think a lot of times when we think of the cloud, we think of fiber, I don't know, maybe we think of fiber that has just, that it's not been prepped at all. But a cloud is basically a cloud of fiber. And actually, this fiber over here is a really good example of a cloud, because this is alpaca that I washed earlier today. I realized in the picture that I have here that this alpaca had not been washed. And as I said in my video the other day, I find that I have to wash it, wash all my fibers before I spin because of the allergens. And alpaca are notorious for liking to roll around in the dirt. And so this alpaca had a lot of Colorado dirt still left in it. And it also had a lot of barnyard smell. So I went and I just did a quick bath, spun out all the excess water, and set it out in that hot heat outside, and in about an hour or less, it was dry. And you can't see much lock. You can't see much. It's just a big cloud. And yes, I could spin. I think I could spin directly from this. But the other thing I wanted to mention, though, in about talking about spinning from the cloud, is that sometimes after, especially if you've washed your fibers, the fibers might look a little matted. And this Angora, I'll show a picture here, looked matted when it was finished being washed. But as you can see, it is not matted at all. I just took the fiber that was washed, I took it over to my carders, and I opened up the fibers again. Now, these are cotton carders, and they are small sized, made for kids. And I like them because I get too much hand strain and back strain and neck strain and everything. I just get too much strain if I use the big carders. So I stay with the kid carders, and while I may not be able to card as much at once, the strain is less, and so I can actually get a lot more done. So these are cotton carders that are very fine tooth, fine gauge. They're delicate enough to do fibers like Angora. And so when I have a fiber that gets a little compacted in when it's been washed, I will sometimes open it up here. And I'm going to show a demonstration of that here in just a moment with another fiber I have. But it basically is flicking it open. It's opening it up. I'm not rolling it into a roll log. I'm just opening the fiber up and then pulling the fiber off the carder. So let me show you Alpaca. I'm going to show a picture here. And the other day when I was doing my video, and I had to go back and check, I was confused about it, but I was correct. It is Suri Alpaca. And I did a little Google search, and what I discovered is very interesting. Most of the alpaca we think of are those cute little fuzzy-faced, they look like a big cotton ball on a critter, and they're just adorable. They're the majority of the alpaca we're familiar with. But according to what I was able to find online, their cousin, their relative, the Suri alpaca, the one that looks like it is wearing dreadlocks, they only make up about 10% of the alpaca that we have. And their fiber, when washed, looks like this. Here's a bowl of it. Okay? Their fiber looks like this. The more common alpaca that we're accustomed to, their washed fiber looks like this. Okay? You see, I think that's, yeah, there's a lock. There's a lock. That washed lock and that washed lock, they don't really look the same, do they? So, the other thing that is different is that this fiber, if I get it up really close to the camera, you might be able to see there's a little tiny bit of crimp. The fiber's a little flatter in the way the light hits it. There's a crimp to it, and it's soft and flat feeling. Whereas this, when it's opened up, does not really have any discernible crimp. It has luster and it feels silky. There's no flat softness about this. No, it's definitely soft, but it's like silky soft, silky smooth. So, very different. Most of the alpaca that I have has always been fluffy rather than the dreadlocks. When I take these, what look like they've been maybe felted or compacted fibers, over to my carder, and I just drag them onto the carder. And I'm not particularly caring if I'm getting cut side down or tip side down, because I'm not trying to comb this. I'm not trying to make this a worsted prep and having it combed and all the fibers going the same direction. I just want to open it up so it's a little easier to spin. And I just go through, and I'll usually do it twice. And I know there will people say, oh, you're not supposed to, switch hands with your carders. No, I do what feels right. Don't worry about the rules. So, then I pull it off, and that is now ready to spin. And then I put it in its bowl, and as you see, I have a cloud of fiber. So to show you that one more time, just taking the locks, and I do this whether it's CVM, whether it's mohair, whether it is deboulé, ramboulé. This is pretty much the technique. And this is exactly what I do actually if I want to blend as well. I will open up the fiber, and then I'll use these little carders to also blend sometimes. But I just have it on there like that. And then I'm just teasing open the tips, and eventually it transfers onto this guy. I then do the same thing one more time, and it's opening up the fibers one more time. Now, if I wanted to make a roll log, these would be rolled back and into a roll. I don't tend to do that. If I want a roll log, I go to my blending board. It's just easier for me. But most of what I do is just pull it off, and now I have a cloud. I like spinning from this. I like the prep. It's easy. Little tiny bit of carding. I know that I was going to try to avoid using my carders during this Tour de Fleece, but when the fiber looks a little compacted, when it's been washed and it's compacted itself together, it's better to use the carders for a few moments and have a lovely cloud than to struggle with it. So, cloud, cloud, and cloud. Now, if I took the time, if I was really, really careful, I could make sure when I take it off the carders like I did, I pulled up, I could lay it in my bucket, all going in one direction, and I could technically spin it to be a little bit more of a worsted, which is a smoother, tighter, not as much air spin, but I'm not really concerned about that with this, so I'll just pull the fiber out, and it'll be kind of what we generally call semi-woolen, semi-worsted. It's just fun yarn. It's not something that I intend to sell. It's not something that I'm worried about having a very specific finish to. This is just me having a lot of fun and playing with some fibers that have been sitting in buckets for too long, and I want to see what it does. And what I'm excited about is I'm going to take this alpaca and this alpaca and the rust colored, the coppery colored Max that I was talking about the other day. I'll show a picture here. I've already I already spun that. That's my day 3 spin. I'm going to apply them together and I'm going to see what it does. It will be very interesting to see how this silky smooth plies up with the other two. So there are my clouds. So that's how it's been. I have a little video that, whoops, I'm about to lose my cloud. There we go. There, caught it. I have a little tiny video that I put together showing me spinning from the cloud with the Angora. This is the Angora that I started spinning on Saturday, but because of everything else going on, I only got half of it spun. So I'm going to show you a little video of me spinning from the cloud. Something to keep in mind is when I spin from the cloud, I get to choose. Do I want to do a short draw or a long draw? It works for me either way. That's one of the lovely things about not worrying about so much if I'm doing something exactly a worsted or exactly a woolen. I can switch back and forth. And for me, with some of the physical issues I have, I will switch back and forth all the time. And it doesn't have a noticeable difference in my fiber. I have learned to relax and just create yarns that knit up well or crochet well, and I try not to sweat the small stuff. So join me for this little tiny video of that, and I'm going to end with this morning's 30 seconds of nature. I wish you a wonderful and happy day of spinning. I hope to see you again soon, and have fun unwinding with fiber and fabric. Bye.